Welcome everyone to our second transfer interview of the year. So I'm here with Evelyn Tapia, and she is a student at Shenandoah University, and she was a former NOVA student. And so I first just want to say thank you, Evelyn, for taking the time out to speak with me and share your experiences. And so I guess the first question would be, tell us a little bit about your experience at NOVA, how you found NOVA, and then how you went on to find Shenandoah.
Well, once I was in high school, I honestly didn't know what I wanted to study. And I kind of felt a little overwhelmed because everyone around me knew what they wanted to study. So then I knew about NOVA previously because I have cousins who went to NOVA and stuff like that. And so I looked into that. And so I realized that I can easily get my gen eds out of the way because I know that gen eds could be a little, stressful and overwhelming because I'm pretty sure no one likes gen eds. And so I was like, okay, I'll figure out what I want to do while at NOVA and stuff like that. And luckily, towards the end of my senior year, I found out about the just music therapy in general. And so that's when I did my research in schools that I would like to transfer to, because at the time I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I didn't know I could transfer to schools. My school didn't really make it that much. They didn't give us enough information to let us know that we can transfer to schools. And so I realized that I could transfer, so I went to NOVA, and while I was there, I was doing my research, see where I can go, and I felt pretty overwhelmed at first because I'm like, okay, new people, have to start over. Yeah. And I was scared going into it because I've heard a lot of I have heard where it's like, oh, if you go to a community college, no one's going to talk to you because everyone's going to leave. But going into the school, I actually met my current roommate. Yeah, she also transferred from NOVA. So yeah, I met my best friend there and my current roommate, and I met my partner there. So it's brought me a lot of joy. I'm very thankful that I went to NOVA because I feel like I wouldn't have figured out what I wanted to do, and I wouldn't have figured out where I wanted to go, because I spent my time there really trying to ground myself and figure out my life plan and stuff. I like to say I had extra time to figure myself out.
Sure. And so yeah, through your experiences, like you said, you were exploring different options. It sounded like art therapy was kind of always there as an interest. What were some things that you did or steps that you took to kind of narrow in on that, as well as, what made you ultimately decide Shenandoah?
Yeah, so originally, before I really solidified on music therapy, I wanted to go into education. I wanted to do music education. I just knew I wanted to do something with music in general. And so I gave that a shot for a bit, realized that it was too much for my mental health. And so I was like, okay, I'm also a big advocate for mental health because I have GAD, which is generalized anxiety disorder, and depression and ADHD. So I'm a huge advocate of trying to take care of yourself and take time for yourself. And at one point I did think I just wanted to go in psychology in itself. But through the classes at NOVA, I took some psychology classes. I took some music education classes and just music theory classes in general. And I realized it would be better to just combine them together.
So, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it sounds like you had you just blended all of your interests and your passions into one, and that's every student's dream.
Yeah, I feel very lucky.
Absolutely. And so since being at Shenandoah, how was the transfer experience as a whole? What was your transition like to Shenandoah? And what are some things that you've been involved in. Like I saw your orientation leader on your
Yeah.
signature. So yeah, so talk us through like how the transition went, and then what you've been involved with since going to Shenandoah.
Yeah, so how I decided to go to Shenandoah is I looked at schools near me because I've always been I was born and raised in the Nova area. And so I kind of didn't want to leave home. So my options were to go to Radford or SU. And so I had the opportunity to tour SU for a bit. And so I went and I just looked around campus and I realized that I like small campuses, because I remember going into one of my Nova classes and it just be like a big classroom full of a lot of students. And that kind of overwhelmed me a little bit because I like to have like one-on-one connections with my professors. So coming here, I forgot who my tour guide was, but my tour guide was like, you will connect with every single professor because they will do they will do anything to create that relationship with you. And so I was like, okay, I don't need to go anywhere else. I'm going here. So I auditioned and fortunately got in. And the transition, I was very scared because I'm a student who already went through the whole like college process. I'm scared as to how that's going to work here. So coming here, they treated me like a freshman, which was, pretty great because honestly, like I wanted to experience what it's like coming to SU in general, not only just the college process, but like just coming to this school. So I'm very glad that they treated me like a freshman at first. I came to their transfer orientation, so they knew everyone in that room was a transfer. So I felt a little like, I was like relieved. I was like, okay, like I don't have to talk about like high school and stuff. And so we all talked about, what schools we're transferring from and like how like we got up to where we are now. And so, yeah, it was a very easy and simple process for me. I wasn't stressed out whatsoever. I think my biggest stressor was just, starting a new life here and getting to know people because I already knew my friend, my roommate, but I didn't know anyone else here. So I did my best to get involved and they have a lot of events around here. And it just reminded me of like how the events at Nova were, because I just remember one time walking out of the cafeteria at Nova and there'd just be like a big party just like out there. I was like, this is really nice. And so like, that's how it felt like when one day my roommate and I decided to like explore. They have this thing called Welcome Week where a week before school starts, they have like big parties like on like in the parking lot with like they have like rock climbing, ice cream, tie dyeing and stuff like that. So it kind of reminded me a little bit of home.
Sure.
And I got to meet a lot of my close friends there. It's been really fun. Like I've done so like much to get involved within the school. Like I'm helping the transfer group here, especially within the music therapy department. We're trying to, get a lot of the music therapy transfer students to like be like a tiny little knit tight community. And so we're trying to like come up with events where it could be like a transfer event and stuff like that. It's been really fun. And I'm also a part of the SUMTA board here, which is the Shenandoah University Music Therapy Association. I am the public relations officer, so I'm the one that's posting on social media and all that stuff, which is really fun. And we actually held our first ever event, which was an open mic for anybody in the department. And it was very successful. I also been helping Amy Sign, who is, she is also like a transfer counselor here. And she's doing something with commuter students because I don't live on campus because I was a transfer student. They're like, you don't have to live on campus. So I got like an apartment with my friend. And so she's been asking me to help her out with like some things regarding how to get communities involved. Like I had a conversation with her and like we talked about like how we can get those involved. And so it was fun. And yeah, the orientation leader group here was fun. I got to do that for the first time ever this past summer, and it was really fun. I made a lot of like new friends with that. Got close to a lot of people I wasn't close to before. And when we had our transfer orientation, I got to talk about a lot about my story and how what I went through transferring here, because a lot of them, you know, they felt as if like they were going to be treated like babies. And I'm like, you're not going to be treated like a baby, I promise.
That's awesome. So you're super involved, and it sounds like, based on kind of what you've really gleaned, or what I've gleaned from our conversations, that you really care about community and, you know, feeling a part of that. And it sounds like you had some of that at Nova, but you really have experienced that at Shenandoah. And that's definitely, I think, you know, you can find that at a lot of schools, but it's all about finding your fit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and I remember walking on the campus I went to, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, right, like you, like, okay, we're done, like, we're good. You know, it's just something internal that just feels right. And that's awesome that you found that. And so I have one other question. And I guess the question would be, what is one tip or one piece of advice that you would tell a student that's currently at Nova, that's looking around, that's exploring different options? What would be one piece of advice to help ensure their success for transfer?
My piece of advice is that there is no time limit. That's one thing I like to say, is that there is no time limit, because I remember being in that position where I felt like I had to like hurry up and I'm supposed to finish school in 4 years and stuff like that. But it's like transferring here, my professor was like, credits were really rough, so I had to start from square one. So when I transferred as a first year, and so I've had to do like a full 4 years. So like I couldn't in some programs, I know when you transfer you have like 2 years left, but I had to start like from square one. But I'm like, it was rough at first, but I'm like, there is no time limit. My advisor here was super like, I like to say she's one of the best advisors out there, but she really helped me realize that when it comes to education, there is no time limit, because at the end of the day, you're gonna do what you want to do. And there's like no need to rush it, because if you rush it, it's like, you're probably not gonna put like the best out there. And it's like, if you take your time, that's when you're gonna have time to really become better at what you want to do. And so yeah, there is no time limit.
I love that. I love that piece of advice, because we get so many students at Nova who, they come right out of high school, they feel this pressure to make this perfect decision and make it quickly, and then they find themselves a couple years on the road in the wrong major that's not really like their passion. And so that's a wonderful piece of advice. So thank you for sharing that. And also thank you for sharing your insight, your experience, your journey. You are amazing. I mean, just our couple minutes together, the things that you're doing are amazing. And so we're proud to have you as a Nova alumni. And, you know, I wish you nothing but the best. And thank you again for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.